It's the PMP Industry Insider Podcast. I'm Brett, the editor of the show, and this time on Insider's Rewind, we're looking back to the month of April and picking a good, impactful section to feature again. Episodes 220 through 223 took place in April. Lots of great insights to get to. It's all coming up. The PMP Industry Insider Podcast takes a look at what is changing in the pest and lawn industry, and each week the show is presented by our friends at Comarch. They offer marketing solutions and services for the pest and lawn industry. You can visit them online and learn more at comarch.com. Also, PestSure provides pest industry specific insurance. Their products are tailor-made for the pest and lawn industry. Lots of information available at pestsure.com. And new for 2025 is Voice for Pest. They're the industry leader in designing and implementing unparalleled voice solutions for PCOs of any size across the country. Visit this website, voiceforpest.com/podcast, to get more information. Also, information on peer groups is available. You can visit pmpindustryinsider.com for more information there. David Billingsley is the facilitator, and a preview of how these peer groups work is available. If you want to scroll back to episode 136, give that a listen. Every Thursday at 10 a.m. Eastern, a new PMP Industry Insider Podcast is released. We did have an exception in April, but it was kind of vital. We'll discuss that in a bit. We're starting with episode 220, Why Accurate Reports plus Actionable Data Equals Success. On this episode, Dan and Donnie discussed squeezing real value out of CRM data.
I've got my CRM set up so that I can track recurring and non-recurring. I might have it set up so that I can track commercial versus residential versus WD, maybe bed bugs, other services, right? And so why wouldn't you preserve all that information and bring it over into QuickBooks so that you can, use that information in your P&L? And the way that you do that is there are various reports in these CRMs that spit out what you did for the month in terms of production, not in terms of collections, money collected, but in terms of productions. And so what you're doing is you're putting the sales entry in by the production that you do, right? So this is an accrual-based revenue. And some people, what does accrual mean? Accrual is when the work is done, you put it, you recognize it, not when it's paid.
Right.
And there's an accounting concept called the matching principle. And the reason that you do accrual based is because you're matching the expenses with the revenue, right? So maybe I do a $100,000 bird job and don't get paid for 90 days, but I incurred all the labor and materials this month. Well, that's not a good match, right? Because this month I'm going to take a loss for everything I laid out. And in 2 or 3 months when I get my money, it's going to be a big windfall because I don't have any cost associated with it. So what you're going to do is you're going to record it when it's produced, and even if it becomes an account receivable. And in doing that, the other side of the entry, when you put in all of the revenue by service type, the other side of the entry is accounts receivable, right? So everything's an account receivable. And then you relieve that accounts receivable with all the payments that you got. So in a perfect world, you do $100 worth of production, you get paid $100. Well, that's not really what happens. You might do $100 worth of work, but you get paid 80 because you have 20 of receivables, or you get paid 120 because last month somebody owed you money, and so you recognize that through this accounts receivable, which is a off P&L account. It's a balance sheet account, right? So what you're trying to do is make sure your P&L has production value, and by category, commercial, residential, WD, and within those categories, recurring, non-recurring. Okay.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
It does.
Okay.
So, folks, if you're on the move, you can listen to episodes over at pmpindustryinsider.com. If you click on the podcast tab at the top, they're all listed there. And if you're more of a visual person, each episode is also available on the PMP Industry Insider YouTube channel, and you can watch there. We're moving on now to episode 221, which was an early release. It came out Tuesday, April 8th, discussing tariffs, the impact on chemicals, and what's next for pest control. Let's dive in.
When you're looking at 34% tariff and the vast majority of chemicals are produced, at least the active ingredient, in China, there will be an impact on your cost. There will be. Now, is
But
it
it's
going to be
not going to be
massive?
that 34% because it's
Right.
only a part of it. But I will tell you that in preparing for this talk, the research that you did, I was floored by all of the chemicals,
Hmm.
the active ingredients that come from overseas.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Most people don't know that, right? I mean, listen,
I didn't know.
as I was digging into it, I was like, oh, I knew that I just didn't realize it was this much, right?
Yeah.
So there's the whole thing of your product, right? Your product absolutely is going to go up, right? I think about in our own business, we are big consumers of bifenthrin and cypermethrin, actually. That is all China and India, every bit of it. And so, either the products are going to have to change to come from active ingredients, are going to have to come from other countries, which is highly unlikely, or two, there is going to be an impact, and it's going to be pretty quick because it's not
Well, they're
like
going to
unless
be
you.
tariffed here, but let me ask you a question. You're more closer to this than I am.
Okay.
When you bring over bifenthrin, that's the active ingredient, but it's formulated here with inert ingredients, right? So
It
what
is.
percentage of what you buy? So if I have a 34% tariff, but only a quarter of it is from the imported bifenthrin, then you're at what, 8.5%,
Maybe,
right?
and I'm sure that's depending on the manufacturer and what product we're talking about. It's going to have a different play no matter what. My guess is that either it's going to have to be sourced from a different country, or two, there's going to be some absorption on the vendors, which I mean, I don't know how much they're going to pass along, but my guess is that the vendors are going to absorb some, we're going to absorb some, and then the customer is going to absorb some, and
But
so.
yeah, I mean, as far as sourcing it from another country, if this is the new norm, they're going to be tariffed there too. So where does it go?
Mhm.
It's got to be sourced from within here. That's it.
It does.
The
It
only
does.
way to get around this if this is the new norm, right?
Correct.
So,
And listen, who knows, right? I mean, if it turns out that this goes the way that the administration's wanting it to go, which means they're going to renegotiate, this could be a huge thing for us, right? I mean, our product costs could go down. We don't know, right? Okay, so there's chemical, which I say that because I mean I want to get out in front of that because that's going to be the obvious and probably the most quickest increase that you're going to see.
Episode 221 there, titled Tariff Proof Your Business, What to Do Right Now. It was released back on April 8th. Moving on to episode 222, it featured our first guest in April, the sales and partnership lead at Avoca AI, Katsu. This episode shines a light on AI-driven customer service tools. It features a demo with an AI CSR, very impressive. It explains how these particular reps, they don't sleep, they can take calls after hours, and this episode really gets down deep into how the services are implemented into businesses.
There's no doubt about it. We've got a lot of listeners that are on PestPack, right? And they may be on a software that's not even listed that you said that you don't integrate with. Can they
sure.
still leverage this technology?
Absolutely, absolutely. When I first joined Voca, 3 months ago, um, I didn't have any integration, right? Avoca was deeply integrated with Service Titan, but not integrated with any systems in the pest control world of
Hmm.
things, right? So, the pest control companies that are brought on board, they look at it as these are calls that they would never have gotten if it wasn't for the AI, right? They are realizing that there are a lot of customers that are happy to leave voicemails, and in those voicemails it becomes very vague, right? Of
Hmm.
what their situation is or who they are. And then there's also calls that they didn't even realize that they were missing because they just hang up, and their answering machine never even acknowledged that there was a call there, right? So they're once they've implemented the bot, especially in after hours, they're seeing tremendous increase in calls, and then those calls were always coming. They just never knew about it.
And
So
because you're integrated with Voice for Pest, does that make you integrated with In other words, maybe you can't look at the scheduler, but you can definitely put the call in the notes.
Yes, potentially. Yes.
Okay.
I'm working with their engineering team to possibly make that happen. Right. It's some more conversations, and also time and energy on the engineering side, which is the most valuable thing
right.
in a technology company.
Dan, Donnie, and Katsu from Avoca AI, episode 222. It was titled, Are AI CSRs Really Here? An Implementation Q&A. The final episode of April was the third installment of Passing the Torch, and this series has been great so far. We featured Get 'em Pest and Anti-Pesto back in January, and now for the third installment, we featured Mickey and Mandy Nolen of Nozzel Nolen Pest Solutions out of Southern Florida. The section I picked discusses challenges of being the boss's kid, and we'll discuss here navigating leadership, legacy, loyalty within the family business. Let's check it out.
I have a question for you, Mandy. So I have my son, Matt, working in our business. He's been here for, 3 years, 4 years now. And he actually worked for a big accounting firm for like 4 years before he came in. And so he came in with a skill set that a lot of the other folks didn't have. But I still had people who were here for a while, and he still had my last name, and it was still kind of awkward at some points, but honestly, when it became awkward and I was in the room, I left. How have you dealt with, that kind of thing? The fact that, your last name is Nolan, and, how have you won people over, I guess?
I think anyone that I have the opportunity to work with one-on-one, I win over. I think that I'm pretty good at finding a way to connect with people. I think that's one of my strengths. I also think that my work ethic is strong enough so that people can see that I'm not just this entitled little jerk that's coming in to collect a paycheck. So I think that the combination of just being friendly and willing to get to know anybody and, showing them that I do care about my job. I do care about the work we all do. I do care about reaching goals as a team has helped win them over. I think that when you're the boss's kid, there's always some level of like, can you believe that bratty little kid over there? But, I know what my intentions are. I know I try really hard. So, sometimes people make rude comments behind your back and you hear about it, but whatever. I just shrug it off.
Just fire them, right?
Yeah. Force them to retirement.
So, and Mickey, how do you so you're a much calmer guy than I am. Like if I hear somebody, like if I hear my son saying something that maybe I know is probably, I don't want to say controversial, but probably other people would probably disagree with him, I really have to bite my tongue. Do you get into that situation, or do you just say, you know what, Andy's a big kid, she can do it, and how do you deal with that?
I've turned over the reins to both Mark and Mandy, and I don't always agree with their decisions they make, but they're in charge, and I roll with it. I just tell Mandy, that everybody's watching you, so you got to at least appear to be professional and competent. So.
Yep.
Episode 223 there from late April, featuring Nozzel Nolen Pest Solutions, bringing a close to Insider's Rewind. Thanks for stepping back with me and looking all the way through April at some of the heavy hitters of the PMP Industry Insider podcast. Resources are available at pmpindustryinsider.com. That way you can stay up to date. And wherever you find us on social media, whether it be Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, YouTube, give us a follow. And feel free to give us a review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. That'll help push the show further. It'll get in front of more people just like you. That way they can get pest and lawn-specific insights. I'm Brett, the editor, and I'll be seeing you in June for another episode of Insider's Rewind. Take care.